So basically, I've said in previous videos that Fallout 76 is terrible, but the idea of having an online Fallout game could actually work if it was handled properly. So in this video, I will detail how I would basically, if I had, my druthers and whatever I wanted, I would essentially, I think an online Fallout game with a multiplayer component could work. And here's how I would do it. And we'll get started with the setup, the online components, etc., after the cut. So here's the premise. The premise behind Fallout 76 is that, essentially speaking, a vault opens up in West Virginia, and essentially people are trying to find out what's been going on. And that's your impetus to go out there and start doing shit. That premise is a little flimsy, but I think we can flesh it out. We'll stick with it, but we'll flesh it out. A vault opens in West Virginia. You've been sent out. It's kind of like, it's riffing off of the original Fallout, where you've been sent out to get some type of MacGuffin. But that's where it completely flips over. Technology is completely fucked up. The people who are left outside that manage to survive are, have started to develop their own society that views vault people as trash. And your character, initially, right off the beginning of the game, is like, we don't, the people are like, we don't really give a shit about this guy or girl or whatever your, how you create your character. So right off the bat, your character is not fucking around, all right? Shit is not going in your direction. The big hook of the game is that you're basically trying to get the technology you need in order to save your vault. Kind of like the original Fallout. Here's where the similarities between Fallout 76 and my ideal Fallout change. You're trying to get the vault, but it goes beyond that. Not only are you trying to get this vault, but trying to get this device for your vault. Technology, this is shortly after the Fallout has dissipated to a point where radiation isn't killing people in your area. So basically, a lot of the tech has been destroyed because it's been proven scientifically that a nuclear explosion causes an electromagnetic wave that just wipes out electronics. So technology is gone. No Pip Boys, none of that shit. So basically, the game comes down to you scavenging for technology, and how essentially on this server, the server is divided into 3 zones: an outer zone, a middle zone, and an inner zone. Each zone has an escalation of the quality of shit that you can get access to, and each zone is essentially, has its own little proclivities and pet peeves. So, for example, the outer zone is kind of like for newbies, low tier. Like, you can't really do PvP in the outer zone. And the PvE is manageable. The mid-tier zone is kind of like where they introduce, more competitive PvP content, shit like that. And the interior zone is where you get the best shit, but literally the best loot, and you can scavenge the best stuff to make really good shit. But it's highly contested. Everything is PvP. People can come and raid your bases and shit like that. There's your setup for that. I will get into more of the PvP multiplayer aspect in the next segment after the cut. So I thought long and hard about a good incentivization, or should I say incentive, for people to PvP. And it came to me very quickly. The best way to ensure that people will want to PvP, in my opinion, is to essentially incentivize it. Make it something that is something that people would want to do. So I have 3 tiers of PvP in the game based upon the 3 zones. In the outermost zone, you're discouraged to PvP, but you can. But here's the thing. If you PvP someone in the outermost zone, in my ideal online multiplayer Fallout game, you essentially are banded as a raider. Okay? You're banded as a raider. And automatically, people can, you show up to other people as a raider. So as an enemy faction, period. So people in the outer zone can kill your ass. And they can loot all your shit. So you get punished for doing that in the outer zone. The mid-tier zone is where PvP becomes an important thing. Because in the mid-tier zone, a gameplay mechanic in the mid-tier zone is that you're encouraged to have settlements, to have campsites and little bases and shit. Because your base will produce a certain amount of general resources, depending on the location and what's around the location, every in-game day, which you can then use to make shit. But people can come in. If you don't, pick up your shit, people can come and raid your site. But in the mid-tier thing, your base is hidden unless someone has a map a map or a transponder code to your area. And here's the thing, okay? If you PvP someone in the mid-tier area, in the mid-tier area, not only will you not, if you PvP someone there, you might get part of their transponder code. And so you'll have to basically hunt someone down in order to get all the pieces of their transponder code. Now, what's their defense against this? Well, this is where building defenses for your base comes into play. So not only are you facing against someone out there, they're trying to defend themselves, defend their base. So turrets and traps and all that type of shit. Sometimes it might be worth it. Now, the other defense against this, now let's take this concept into the inner ring, the inner segment where the best resources come about. Basically, in the inner ring where the best resources are, you can get access to schematics for rare and really powerful items that you can build. But here's the thing. The best shit, you will never have enough resources. No single player would never have enough resources to make the best stuff in the schematics, like a factory to make parts for new weapons and stuff like that. In order to do that, this is where the whole guild PvP coalition thing comes in. Basically, players in the innermost ring can join together into a coalition and combine their bases into settlements or bases or whatever. And basically, they share each other's defensive and offensive values with each other and their resources. So, everyone in your group can pool their resources and put together some really nice shit. They can put together factories. They can build weapon platforms that normally a single player would not be able to use. And that's your incentive to team up with other people. So that's how I would basically do my ideal multiplayer. People would have different factions in the innermost tier. You would have PvP and PvE, but I will get into the PvE in the next segment after the cut. So, I find that in most MMO-style games, PvE kind of sucks. It boils down to repetitiveness and no spontaneity or dynamism. which is just a fancy way of saying that there's no, everything is static and the status quo is always preserved. Here's my idea around that. So basically, the big thing in a Fallout game that I think that could be done in a Fallout Online game in terms of the PvE is this. As I mentioned before, I'm going back to my original thing. Each, you would have different areas. You have an outermost area, a middle area, and an inner area. The inner, as you go into farther in, the PvE gets more intense. But you would also have incursions from other areas. So, if you are a starting player, you could have an incursion with, creatures from the mid-tier area going into the outer area. And if you're in the middle area, you can have creatures from the inner area going into the outer area. I think you should also have PvE factions that have their own thing. Like you could have the Enclave or super mutants. Because remember, this is supposed to be an early game that takes place early in the timeline. So there's still the Master, the super mutants, all that type of shit. You could have those factions. And not only would you have those factions fighting against each other, you would also have those factions fighting against other players. So you could potentially have a Enclave faction organizing raids into the outer area and the mid-tier area, taking out swaths of players to keep things interesting. It would incentivize those players to actually play and level up and have proper defenses for their bases and that type of thing. Of course, it wouldn't be too they wouldn't be too OP so that people would actually be forced to, do stuff. So they wouldn't feel like, man, I don't have a chance. But I do think you could totally do that in a game, having things work out that way. That being said, what incentive should people have for people who don't want to play the PvP portion of the game, even though this is an online Fallout, versus the PvE? Well, PvE enemies can drop faction-based technology, which you can then use. So, if you go hunting in the mid-tier and outer-tier area for Enclave power armors wearers, eventually you can get yourself a set of power armor. Of course, if you're in the mid-tier area, you're not going to get access to the really good shit, but decent stuff you can get access to. Conversely, super mutants might have access to biological materials that could help you out, like certain serums and drugs and stuff. I think these concepts could work for the PvE because, like I said, there are a lot of people who played Fallout 76 and treated it like a new Fallout game, and they were grossly disappointed, but treated it like that. So I think you could totally do that in a an online Fallout game. I will get into basically a monetary model after the cut. So no one does a money-making endeavor to not make money. However, Bethesda was a little, and ZeniMax were a little greedy with how they made this game because there's basic shit missing in this game that, how can I put this? There's basic shit missing in this game that should be there that isn't because of reasons. And you can pretty much tell that there's basic shit that should be in this game that they still haven't fixed. But they had the nerve to charge people for shit. That's not cool. So here's my idea to monetize my ideal Fallout game. You would have a free-to-play version that's basically you're restricted to the outermost area, the opening of the game, maybe a level cap of 20 or 30, and just to kind of wet your whistle, right? But once you reach the level cap, you can't go into the mid-tier or inner-tier area. So you're locked off from a lot of the game, but if you want to play, the basic version, you can do that. You'll never have access to any truly powerful weapons or items or anything, but there you go. A paid model I would say that could work is $10 a month. $10 a month, or you can get a deal for $100 a year. Okay, $10 a month gets you, fuck the Atom Store. That's stupid. Okay, $10 a month gets you access to custom servers. Not private servers, but custom servers. These are servers where you can customize your experience a little bit. Invite certain people. You can have a threshold like only people who are this level can come in here. I only want to interact with these level people. That type of thing. The $100 yearly membership we could call the premium membership. That gets you your private servers. That gets you, your invite-only instances, that type of thing, where random people just can't come up to you and be like, "Hey, I see you're raiding this vault or raiding this facility. Hey, let's do that shit again." This is basically going to let you do all that type of shit. Now, what else? I did not like the Atom Store. I thought it was kind of stupid, but I do have a way to monetize it on an extra concept. The extra in a way that doesn't feel sleazy. So what I thought is a good way to monetize the game would be a cosmetic store where you get access to different little bennies and pets and shit like that. Now these have no combat, no application in combat. Okay, they're just there so that people can have a little bit of fun. Okay. Now the reason I put this there is because, frankly speaking, I think a lot of games suffer. People don't mind paying for shit. But if you're going to sell people, if you're going to charge people money when the base game doesn't really come together the way it should, that's a problem. That's where Bethesda kind of fucked up, in my opinion. But that's my own personal opinion, and you could disagree with me if you want to. But anyway, I'll get to my conclusion after the cut. So here's my summary. Okay, my summary is this. Essentially speaking, you could do a good online Fallout game with a MMO type component. I think that you would have to retool how things are done. I do think that the base game should be free to play, but if you want extra bennies, people get charged for it. I think that would make more sense than charging people for a subpar gaming experience. Which is kind of like what Bethesda did for Fallout 76. They were like, yeah, we can charge you for all this shit. It's like, come on, man, don't do that. Especially for this subpar gaming experience. Like, if you're gonna charge me for some shit that actually makes sense. You know what I'm saying? I'll keep it real, okay? I have played a lot of MMOs in my time. I played World of Warcraft back in the day when it first got started. It was kind of shit. I played Guild Wars when it first got started, Guild Wars 2. I played those games. And, I prefer the Guild Wars model where you pay a flat fee and you get the game, and then there's extra shit you can get, but you don't need it. When you're charging people $60 for a game and the base game is fundamentally just trash, I have a problem with that. And no one said anything about it. No one's like, hey, that ain't right. Nothing. So with that being said, I think you could do a good Fallout game. You just have to, a good online Fallout game, you just have to retool how certain things are done. The idea is sound. An online 3D Fallout game could work. An online multiplayer Fallout game could work. It's just how it was handled was literally the worst way you could have done that. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Enjoy the rest of the video. It's going to be me playing The Outer Worlds. So peace and have a good day.